Hi everyone, hope you are feeling positive and healthy. Please subscribe with bell notifications if you haven't already, and please don't hesitate to leave your valuable feedback and advice below. Thank you very much. Let's jump into the stories. Am I the unreasonable one for telling my parents they're the reason I won't be having a wedding? I'll be frank, my family is a mess. My mom has untreated mental health issues, liked to be a a-hole to us as kids, and as of now, my brother won't speak to her. She and my biological dad are divorced and have been for a long time, and still believes that they're gonna get back together despite both of them being married. Stepmom can be civil to my mom can't. Stepdad hates me, and keeps trying to convince me that I'm his spiritual child and biologically his. Tests say otherwise. Dad hates my stepdad because he treats us like garbage, but can be civil. Every time that these people have been in the same room, it's been chaos and nothing but drama. My fiancé family is similar, and is very religious. He is not, unlike my family. As you can see, this will be a messy affair, and with all the restrictions, there isn't a better time to elope and not waste lots of money for people to fight at a nice event. With all this crap going on, we just looked at each other and were like, let's elope. So we've got a day picked out, and we're gonna head down to the courthouse relatively soon, by ourselves. Needless to say, my dad is upset, but understanding, as is my stepmom behind our reasoning. My mom and stepdad are furious, and basically said we could have a wedding, but disinvite the other parents or have two weddings. I told them it was their misbehavior that was the final straw, and I wasn't going to pay for them to fight at a nice place on my dime. My fiancé told me I could have just lied and given another reason, but I am fed up with them. My parents are upset because I'm depriving them of the wonderful experience of wedding stuff, like the dress visits and cake eating and stuff like that. My reasoning is I'm not gonna drop thousands of dollars to have them fight and cause a scene at something I don't even really want. My fiancé doesn't care because now in the future, when everything opens back up, we can have a banging honeymoon. He is kinda upset about the lack of pictures, but we can buy a dress and take some pictures with the both of us. Also, sorry, I wrote this when I was really tired/frustrated this morning. I ended up taking a nap and saw my mistakes. Lol. I'm female, he is male. Not the unreasonable one. My family is similar, very similar. Almost like I wrote this. Lol. We wanted to elope, told family and they lost it. Run girl. I wish I did it. Wedding had so many family issues. Lol. Not the unreasonable one. They sound entitled and unhinged. Go have a stress-free courthouse wedding. If you want to have a nice meal with your father and stepmother to celebrate at some other time, you can totally do that. Don't bother stressing yourself out extra for the sake of your disillusioned mother and stepfather. Am I the unreasonable one for refusing to adopt my sister's kid? So I, 25 years old male, have a much older half-sister Lisa who is 48 and from my deceased father's first marriage. As you can imagine, my father was substantially older than me himself, and if he was alive he would be 71. Anyway, my mom, 51, always included Lisa despite the fact there's only 3 years between them. They developed a bond and a friendship and greatly supported each other when my dad died. Lisa always wanted children, but for whatever reason it never happened. There were times when I was younger that she acted like a surrogate mom to me. It got weird at points and my mom and dad had to remind her she was my sister, not my mom. It hurt her, but she did back off and we developed a close relationship. Through the years, Lisa did try to have children, but she never had any luck dating-wise. She attempted the donor route and that failed. She even tried adoption and it just never seemed to work out. My heart really went out for her, and when she hit her 40s, it appeared she accepted it wasn't meant to be. A few months ago, Lisa was having dinner with my mom and I and seemed over the moon about something. We thought she'd finally had some luck dating someone. She said she had been involved with someone casually, but the announcement was that she was pregnant. She said it was a miracle at her age as she was close to starting menopause, and I saw how happy she was and wished her well. She then revealed the dad wasn't interested, but seemed unfazed by it. Here's what the problems are. Lisa is now 6 months pregnant and in a different situation than she was in her early pregnancy. She no longer has a job as her company went bankrupt due to Rona. She received a small settlement payment, but wasted all the money on a new car. She then couldn't afford her rent and got kicked out. She is now living in my mom's spare room rent-free whilst my mom buys her essential supplies. Lisa receives unemployment benefit, but keeps blowing the money and hasn't thought about the baby. Lisa came to me in tears with the realization she can't pay for her baby. She revealed she wanted my mom to pay and she flat out refused. I told Lisa it's not my job to pay for a kid that isn't related to her. Lisa then asked me for help. She wants me to upon the baby's birth enter an open adoption. She said it means on paper I'd be the parent, but that she could still see the child and I'd be responsible for the kid in all aspects, especially financially. She basically wants to be a parent without any of the responsibly. I said hell no, I do not want to be responsible for a kid, and I said to her it's not my fault she got pregnant and her life circumstances changed and she keeps wasting money. I said if she really can't afford the baby, the best thing she could do is give it to people who both can look after it and actually want it. She retaliated and says I'm an offer, accusing her of not being able to be a mom. She basically says me and my mom are forcing her to give up her child, but we're just trying to make her face up to reality. Not the unreasonable one. If your sister can't provide for the kid, she really shouldn't be having the baby. The cruelest thing anyone can do is bring a child into the world who can't be provided for. It's not your responsibility or your mother's to take in the child. Lisa seems really immature since she can't seem to save money and seems to expect everyone to pay for her. Also, it seems I need to clarify, I'm not talking about Lisa having an abortion. I literally mean it would be cruel of her to bring her child into her life instead of giving it away, as she clearly can't provide for it. Not the unreasonable one. She's not 16 and can learn to handle her own money. She's going to be entitled to child support, it doesn't matter if he's interested or not, and can apply for government help while she's pregnant. Don't tangle yourself up in this legally, she could make your life a nightmare for the next 18 years. Am I the unreasonable one for not accommodating a special needs kid for my son's birthday party even though my son is his only friend? I have always been conflicted about this, so I thought I would post here. This happened 2 years ago, but let's see. Me and my husband were planning a 4th birthday party for my son. He had a lot of friends around the neighborhood. There was also another kid, Jack, in the neighborhood. He is low-functioning autism and he is nonverbal. My son plays with him quite often. At that age, not every kid is as understanding, but my son got along with him very well, except some meltdown incidents here and there. I would say that Jack didn't have any friends or kids who hang out with him as much as my son. My son loves dinosaurs, so me and my husband planned the party with that as theme and ordered most of the supplies and cake. I also made some dinosaur-shaped invites for my son to color. I was telling the parents about the party and asking about diet restrictions. Jack's mom told me that I cannot have any animal-themed party because Jack will have a meltdown as he is scared of them. Everyone was looking at us and I was just I will be honest, it wouldn't have been the end of the world to change the theme. I hadn't told my son, so he wasn't going to be disappointed. I could have used the party supplies for something else. I could have called the bakery and changed a cake order from dinosaur to something else, but at the same time, I had put a lot of effort into this and I didn't want to see it go to waste. I told her I can change everything now. She insisted that I have to change the theme and my son was Jack's only friend and he would be heartbroken. She said I'm heartless if I don't do this. So, I offered her some alternatives. Maybe they can come over in the morning. I would bake a small cake that all of us can share. This also ensures that Jack can play with my son and enjoy time together, especially because Jack doesn't do well with crowds. She point blank refused and said I either change the theme or they don't come. I also said no. She then proceeded to cuss and yell at me in front of everyone about how all the parents, all are conspiring to push her son out just because he has autism and that I am as bad as the rest of them. She thought that all of us had purposefully planned this to exclude Jack. Despite trying to explain, she never let me. After yelling some more, she left. She didn't attend that party and also refused to let my son see Jack. He was upset and asked a few times, but he is 4 years old. He forgot about it after some time. Few months after that, we moved and never really thought about this. She never even let them say goodbye to each other. So, am I the unreasonable one here? Not the unreasonable one. While reasonable actions are fair to make, you planned the party around things that your son would like. Given that it was his birthday, it's unfortunate that this woman's child couldn't take part, but that's kind of not your problem. You offered alternatives and she refused. Her demands were unreasonable. It's sad that her kid lost out, but it wasn't because of you. She didn't attend that party and also refused to let my son see Jack. You didn't completely change your party to accommodate my son, so now I'm going to stop my son seeing his only friend. That'll teach you. She punished her son for her own pride. What an a-hole. Not the unreasonable one. Seems like you found out the real reason Jack doesn't have any friends. It's not his autism, it's his mom. Am I the unreasonable one for refusing to cover up for one friend and then kicking her and my other friends out of my house? So I, 22 years old female, live in Scotland. For the past few days, we've had some really nice hot sunny weather. I've been stuck at work and I was done in the late afternoon yesterday and finally had a chance to enjoy the sun. I invited 3 of my friends over to have a distanced gathering in my garden and they all were happy. Whilst I was waiting for them to arrive, I got changed into a crop top and shorts. I am a size 8 and about 8 stone or just over. I'm naturally slim with a flat stomach, but I've only started to believe that. I have struggled greatly with depression and so I used to greatly cover up my body and refused to believe I had a nice figure. I've only started wearing crop tops in recent years and it's boosted my confidence. My 3 friends all appeared, all 22F, dressed in summer attire. One had shorts on, but an oversized shirt and from the get-go seemed uncomfortable with what I was wearing. About an hour in, she pulled me to one side and asked me to put on a different shirt. I asked why and she said she was struggling with her own body image as she'd gained a little weight due to her being furloughed and that she was trying to lose it. She commented that seeing half of my stomach out made her feel lousy about the fact she'd gained weight and she'd greatly appreciate it if I would cover up. She knows how much it's taken for me to wear this clothing and I stood my ground. I told her that I'm sorry she isn't happy with how she looks, but is incredibly lousy of her to basically put me down and expect me to hide myself just because she isn't happy within herself. I told her I can dress however the hell I want, especially in my own house, and our argument caught the attention of our other 2 friends. Amazingly, they were both on the side of my friend and said I could easily cover up to make our friend feel better. I said why should I in my own house? They then tried to use the fact I knew what it felt like to hate how I looked against me and that I should be more sympathetic. This was the last straw for me and I told them to pack all their crap and leave. They did so and I angrily went up to my room and told my parents what happened when they came home as they'd been out all day. They said I did nothing wrong, but I have since received messages from my friends of accusing me of being an and making my insecure friend cry. I didn't mean to make her cry, so maybe I went too far. Not the unreasonable one. She's insecure looking at you, but that's not your fault. Comparison is the thief of joy. Not the unreasonable one. Entitled people doing entitled things. Just because you are friends it doesn't give her the rights to dictate how you should dress or act, especially in your own house. I have had issues with my body image for years as I've gained 25 kilograms due to an illness. I went from a size 12 to an 18 in 3 months. But I've never asked any of my friends to change how they dressed or to adapt to please me and my self-confidence. I dealt with it. Am I the unreasonable one for not inviting my sister and her children on a family trip to Disneyland? I have a half-sister, Diana, who is more or less estranged from me, originally by her choice. Our dad married my mom 3 years after his late wife, Diana's mom, passed away. Diana was 7 at the time, but she bonded very quickly with my mom. They still have a good relationship. Our parents had me a year later. Growing up, Diana made it very clear she did not consider me her sister. She even outright told me I would never be family multiple times growing up. When I was a kid this used to really hurt me, and our parents tried very hard to get us to bond and even sent us to family therapy, but it never seemed to make a difference to Diana. When she was 24, I was 16. She married a wealthy man. They had a destination wedding. As her husband was paying for everything, she refused to let me come and I was forced to stay at home for 2 weeks whilst the rest of our family, including cousins from my mom's side, enjoyed themselves. She then showered our parents and other family members with expensive trips and luxury gifts, and intentionally mentioned them around me. She had 2 children who she refused to let me bond with. When she was 30, her husband divorced her. Diana was devastated and moved back in with our parents. I'm now 25, Diana is 33. And last year I got engaged to my boyfriend. I invited her to my engagement party, and much to my shock, she actually turned up. During the party she kept making snide comments about how I should watch out for men with money as he'll trade me in for a newer model soon enough. It was humiliating. After that, I decided to stop trying to form a relationship with her, and by extension my nieces. Earlier this year, me and my paternal cousin, who has a daughter and son, were planning a trip for Disneyland with my fiance's nephews and niece, which my fiance offered to fund. My cousin must have mentioned it to Diana because she called me on the phone upset. She asked me why I was excluding her kids and how she couldn't believe I was being so spiteful when we were finally mending our relationship. This was news to me. After the whole engagement fiasco, I was still angry at her, so I told her the trip is for family and since we're not family why would I invite you? She hung up on me. I received a call from my dad a few hours later and he was furious with me. He asked when I had become so petty and said whilst me and Diana didn't get along as children, we should move past it. He went on a rant about how I was depriving my nieces because I was holding on to a childhood grudge and he expected better from me. He also mentioned the comment I made and said he was very disappointed I would say something like that. My mom called me after to ask me to apologize to Diana and extend an invitation for her, but I refused. The trip ended up getting cancelled anyway, but I still wonder if maybe I was the a-hole. Not the unreasonable one. It's your trip. You have the right to include only the people you want to go with. They can do their own trip to Disneyland, And no deprivation need occur. Where does this entitlement come from? Your parents are unbelievable too. Not the unreasonable one. Diana is wanting you to be family when it is convenient to her. The past isn't magically washed away now she isn't on the top of the heap. Your mom and dad are enabling her bad behavior. Where were they when she was being hateful to you? It wouldn't be depriving your nieces as it isn't a given anyone should go. I would stay as far from her as I possibly could. Am I the unreasonable one for yelling at my mom for invading boundaries? Info. My wife and I started dating in college in end of freshman year. My wife broke up with me because she couldn't handle my mother. I was too far in the fog to see. I fell into a depression and almost dropped out of college. We ended up finding each other again and I went LC with my mother. The day I realized my wife was completely right was the day she went into labor. That's a whole story in itself. I have always had nightmares. Usually, if I'm stressed they get more and more viscous. My wife does this thing where she will lightly scratch my arm, just dragging her nails softly. It really helps. She also does it when I'm angry or stressed and just need to calm down. It's a very sensual thing to me, and it makes me feel good. When we are in public she just gently fiddles with my fingers. Yesterday, we had a barbecue. Restrictions have eased and we were all distancing. My wife could see that I was stressed so she came over to me and hugged me, and gently touched the back of my neck. Everyone else was outside. When we were back outside, I realized we were out of ice. When I went into the freezer, I hit my wrist on one of the racks and I let out a shout. My mother heard me and came in. She held my wrist and started scratching it, but really aggressively. I asked her to stop, she said sorry and went into a hug. She started scratching the back of my neck and said, "Is that better?" I pushed her away from me. She started going on and on about how I'm choosing my wife over her. Then she mentioned how dark my wife is, as an insult. I started screaming at her to get out of my home, that I was tired of her blatantly disrespecting my wife, and crossing way too many boundaries. She left crying. Nobody heard anything because our freezer is on the opposite side of the house, and the door was shut. I didn't tell my wife anything, but since then I've been getting dozens of texts from family, saying I was in the wrong. My siblings have been calling me a a-hole. I doubt my mother gave them the real story. Even my 14-year-old niece asking why my sister was so mad at me. I think I might be the owl for yelling, but I don't think so. Reddit, am I the unreasonable one? Also, many people have asked for the labor story, but I am not quite sure which subreddit to submit it to. Also, 1. My wife broke her phone last week and isn't too really in any rush to get a new one, so she hasn't received any text messages. 2. She decided to take a day off of office work, so she hasn't checked her emails. I can see that my family has messaged her. 3. As I type this, my wife and our 2 children are taking a nap in our bedroom. I will have a talk with her later tonight. 4. My wife's parents are originally from Fiji in Africa, so she has a very dark complexion. I am just white. Labor story. Finally, link 1 in description, and _source equals share. More information. Didn't expect this much support, it's crazy. Update 1, link 2 in description, and _source equals share. Not the unreasonable one. I'm getting severe creep vibes from your mom. It seems she actually wants to replace your wife. You were right to kick her out. Not the unreasonable one. Your mother is not only a racist by the sounds of it and also lacks any understanding of boundaries and seems jealous of your wife to the point of trying to copy what your wife does. On top of this, the fact she has seemingly lied to the rest of your family about this is manipulative as hell. Chances are she probably omitted the somewhat racist comments and lied about what was actually said. However, this is all just my feeling from your siblings' reaction. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.